Hey team slash gang, Philosopher Gamer here, and I'm going to talk today about paradoxes. Excitement. Woohoo! Paradoxes! Alright, I'm going to begin with the old Infinite Monkey series. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the old Infinite Monkey theorem, and that is that if you put 100 billion monkeys in a room, each with a typewriter, and let them type, they will produce the complete works of William Shakespeare. Now, while we can see the evidence that they might not, it is a mathematical, it's a mathematical possibility, and in fact it will happen after infinity, or at infinity. It will happen. Another paradox I want to talk about is that of the Zeno's paradoxes. For example, when you shoot an arrow through the air in an arc, and you work out how far it's travelling, if you work out the exact distance it's travelling at each point, it's travelling a smaller and smaller distance until it hits the ground. The problem is that at each of those distances gets smaller, but we cannot see the end of the series. It's an infinitely convergent series, so it converges at infinity. We know it converges because the arrow hits the ground, but it's not converging where we can see it. And the third one is Schrodinger's cat, which is basically you put a cat in a box with a flask containing poison and a radioactive source. It's all placed in a sealed box, and if an internal Geiger counter basically detects the radiation coming off the radioactive source, the poison will be released and kill the cat. Okay, from our point of view, the cat is in a determinate state. At some point it's alive, and at some point it's dead. In the quantum realm, the cat is in an indeterminate state. That is, it is alive and dead at the same time, which obviously creates a paradox. Anyway, so I'll go back to the first paradox and talk about the philosophy of that. The fact that infinite monkeys are going to produce an infinite thing. Some philosophers have argued that logic alone would tell us that those monkeys would not produce the works of William Shakespeare. And that seems like a very reasonable thing to say, because, yeah, I mean, without doubt, logic alone probably would not make those monkeys produce William Shakespeare. We just have to. There are too many variables. But obviously the paradox is assuming that the monkeys aren't monkeys as such in the paradox. They're just predetermined machines, if you like, which seems a little bit harsh to describe a monkey in that way, but that's just how it is. We just have to accept that. The problem, of course, is that while those monkeys will mathematically produce Shakespeare, logically and in reality they won't produce Shakespeare. And this is relevant as well to Zeno's paradox, because we know through logic alone, as some philosophers would say, that the arrow hits the ground eventually. It hits the ground. Well, we know it hits the ground because we can observe that it's hit the ground. You're right there, I got pwned by that dude. Anyway, yeah, we know it hits the ground because we can observe that it hits the ground. However, it's going through an infinite distance, and it has an infinitely converging series. And lastly, we've got Schrodinger's cat, and with its state of physically, unfortunately, it is both dead and alive. Within the quantum world, it is both dead and alive, the cat, at the same time. And obviously this creates a lot of philosophical difficulties. I mean, the cat is one of the most devastating ones, is that basically it means that there is no official reality. there's just, well, yeah, I suppose there's just this stage of non-reality. It's kind of like my gameplay, as you can see. Like here, for example, I line up a headshot, right? So this guy here is, in a sense, dead and alive at the same time, because all I have to do once that gate opens is click my mouse, and he's dead. However, we can see quite clearly that he's alive. Obviously the headshot's gone now, but you can see kind of what I mean. It's a little bit complex. Well, it's very complex. It's a hard thing to grasp. I want to talk about the point of paradoxes, and the difficulty that paradox creates. Let's go back to the monkey one. The monkey is producing the thing. It's a similar thing that, I don't know, you could have an infinite number of free-for-all games in Modern Warfare, and in one of those games, even if you just shoot in exactly the same spot, you will get a nuke. At some point, mathematically, you will get a nuke. Of course, there are other variables to take into account, like the people not going into that spot, but you will get that tactical nuke if you keep going. So we can kind of use paradoxes in video games and create a sort of, what's the best way to put it? Yeah, just I suppose if you just keep pulling that trigger, eventually you'll kill someone and get a nuke. Eventually you will. Well, if you've got scavenger and you're never going to run out of ammo, that is. I mean, obviously you can run out of ammo, and that kind of would suck just a little bit. Anyway, so yeah, paradoxes. Those three paradoxes are just examples. Obviously, there's lots more paradoxes, but Schrödinger's cat, I think, is the most terrifying of those paradoxes. I mean, the fact that a cat can be, scientifically, and it can be empirically proven. Well, it can't be empirically proven, but it can be sufficiently theoretically proven to be an empirical truth. That cat is both dead and alive. It's like me playing Team Fortress 2 badly. Really, really badly, actually. Atrociously, in fact. I should probably just give up almost immediately. Yeah, it's like me playing Team Fortress 2. I'm just not very good. And there is the paradox that all the time while I'm playing this game, I'm dead and alive. Because I could die at any moment. And it's the same with, well, it's the same with any video game, really. You could die at any moment. And that is, it's an interesting paradox. I talked in an earlier series about death in video games and how it was an interesting subject. But yeah, I just think these paradoxes that we don't really think they affect our day-to-day lives, but actually they kind of do, because if the cat in the box is dead in an indeterminate date, why can't we as humans just in the world be in an indeterminate state? Surely, you could get hit by a bus tomorrow, right? You hear that one a lot, no doubt. And therefore, you're both dead and alive all the time in the world. And that creates, it has created, that's insane headshot by me just there, it has created a lot of difficulty. Because what is reality? And yeah, I think I'm going to end it on that note. What if there is no reality, as demonstrated with the cat in the box? How can we even be sure of reality? I mean, it's a philosophical question that comes up a lot, but yeah, I guess the search for reality. Anyway, yeah, let me know what you think about the search of reality, the search for reality, and how reality can help us out. And yeah, and I'll see you next time. Yeah, so peace out, my face.